What is the loneliest thing you have ever done? Living by myself and seeing how long before I would have to talk without being rude and not responding to someone else. 2 weeks was the answer. And only because I ran out of food. And the cashier is required to make small talk. That's like 70% of my childhood. Mom left in the morning and didn't come home till 8 p.m. Teachers talked at you, not with you, and when I got home I lived in a neighborhood with no kids my age. No Wi-Fi or cable. I watched the same movies or seasoned DVDs over and over for years. Now thinking about it, I probably went 8 hours a day with no communication 5 days a week for 6 to 7 years. I hosted a party that no one came to once. I had depression and thought hosting a party would be nice. When no one arrived, I opened a bottle of wine, drank and pretended I wasn't alone while still doing the activities I planned. It was probably one of the worst parts of my life during that time. I went to a concert that was a fundraiser for a homeless shelter and sat at a table alone. Periodically, someone would walk up to the table with a big smile, and I would think they were about to ask if they could sit down. Instead, it was, "Do you mind if I take this chair?" This reminds me of what happened in a class for the new semester. I was one of the first people to the new class. Took a seat and waited for everyone to arrive and take their seats. Pretty much all the seats were taken except for the ones right next to me, and a few others. Next lesson in that class. Same thing happens. Except on the second time. Someone came up to me, then took a seat next to me away. That class may be a bit lonely, but at least the teacher is impressed by what I'm achieving. I was working on New Year's Eve, and I had bought party poppers at the store earlier, and so I was out on a run to deliver pizza, and I pulled over on the side of the road. It was a back road in the middle of nowhere, and counted down till minute to the clock in my car and pulled the string. I low-key wanted to cry because I've always worked holidays, and last time I celebrated New Year's was when I was like 10. So me celebrating, alone, while working, really got to me. Last night I talked to my pineapples. IDK if they understood, but they didn't interrupt. There was a bad time in my life when I needed to vent badly and I used to talk to my water bottle. Now I think about it, I find myself really weird. In elementary school, I would pretend that my shadow was a person when I had nobody to play with during recess. When I was a kid, in elementary school, I had no friends. I was very lonely and super sad every day, but not because of my loneliness. So at the break, I had nothing to do but walk around the playground. The playground was a public space, so it had street lamp. The days I was especially sad, I hugged the street lamp and cried and told it, the lamp, how much I wanted someone to be here for me. Was traveling on my own and the Airbnb I rented came with a cat. The cat was cuddly and slept in bed with me. After it fell asleep and I heard it breathing, I realized that it was the first living thing that's been this close to me in months. Sharing a bed with me in years. It was my birthday, and I was meant to celebrate it with friends. They all canceled on me. One of them whilst I was waiting outside their house to pick them up because, it's not really worth it if there's only 2 of us. So I went to build a bear and bought a bear, pretending it was for a little cousin because I was too embarrassed to acknowledge it was for myself. Then I bought a cake from the grocery store and ate it by myself, pretending I was sharing it with the bear. Followed around my group of friends in silence for months. Content to listen to conversations and be bored as hell instead of contributing because at least it meant I wasn't alone. The moment that made me realize my sad situation was when a girl said, "Oh, AskReddit33R. When did you get here? I didn't even notice you arrive." I had been sitting there for over an hour. This was also the first time any of the group had spoken to me in weeks. On the plus side, that was the event that made me leave that friend group and I found a much nicer group of friends soon after. Smiley face. Oh, I know, I was 13 and I didn't fit in at school at all. I had very few friends. I went on YT and put on background noises titled "Girls Chatting at Sleepover," or something like that, and tried to fall asleep to it. Edit, by few friends. I really mean none. Happy crying face. Edit. Thank you for all the kind words. I'm happy to say that my life has completely turned around since then. Ate alone for weeks in the seat in front of our school's admin building after my close friend decided to transfer school. One of my teachers actually saw me and questioned me, why the hell am I doing that while having a class with her? Definitely not the greatest experience I had as a 7th grader. It was my birthday. No one knew about it except for my parents, but they were busy at work. So I ended up buying a gift for myself, then gift wrapping it. Placed it beside my room door. Went for a jog outside. Arrived back home and was fake surprised that someone left me a present. Happy crying face. Edit. Got myself a cookbook so I could learn cooking on my own. It has been great anyway. Laughing face. One day I was feeling lonely and I had spent the previous 4 days alone locked in my house, so I decided to cheer myself up by making a nice dinner. I get everything that I need ready. As I was chopping the onion, I get a bit teary as usual. But this time, even after I finished chopping the onions, the tears don't stop rolling, so I started crying hysterically. I had to stop cooking altogether and I went and cried myself to sleep. When I was a new mom, I had PND and was so ashamed of how difficult I was finding it to bond with my son. I pretended everything was fine to my partner and my family. But the reality was that I was hating my life. My partner started to get a bit worried, so I made up a mother's group that I told him I had joined. I populated it with women who understood and supported me. I made up whole lives about these women, their kids, their husbands and partners. I'd spend my days and nights as I looked after my baby, imagining all of the wonderful things my friends would say if they were real. Luckily, my partner and family finally realized I was struggling and supported me to start counseling. And I now have a very happy life and love being a mom. But that was a very dark time. New York City is known to be a place where you could feel alone whilst surrounded by people. Had a lot of moments over the years that proved that true. I think the hardest one for me was when I started my first job after college. Almost all my friends were in the beginnings of serious, long-term relationships, so rarely ever came out. Everyone else had moved away. For the most part. Didn't help that I was working late shifts, typically getting off work around 3 to 5 a.m., while they all had 9-5s. Because of their relationships, I rarely even saw them on the weekends. And when I did, it was only too briefly for my liking or need. Lowest point was my birthday that year. It's always been kinda rough having a birthday around the 4th of July. I'm sure people with birthdays around holidays can empathize. Everyone wants to take advantage of the time off in the middle of summer for a quick weekend romp. Can't say I blame them. I had, for the several years prior, always gone home for my birthday as my best friend is a day younger and we always celebrated together. But due to work, I was in NYC for the first time for my birthday. I had given ample notice to all my city friends of my plans to be around. And my wishes for them to spend the day with me. Even took the day off to extend the weekend. Lo and behold, they all had plans to go out of town, kicker being that they went in groups all together. No one mentioned this to me until 3 days before my birthday. The night before my birthday, I went to an acquaintance's party and ended up befriending a dude who I quickly bonded over a mutual love of local craft breweries and biking. We made plans to bike brewery hop the following morning. Ended up spending my entire birthday with a stranger before settling in my local dive bar for the evening on my own for a few hours. Pickling away until some assorted other friends and acquaintances trickled in for sparse moments. Of all my oldest and best friends in the city, only 2 came to see me. Sure, I wasn't alone, per se, but being abandoned by the people I cared about on a day like that was a lonely-ass feeling. I painted the face on a balloon. I named him Mike and we played Monopoly together. Then I went to sleep holding him. On the morning he had deflated and I cried. Poured a bottle of Patron into a Camel pack. Went to a movie during the day by myself. Passed out in the movie. Woke up while the employees were sweeping up after the movie. Went home and slept. 10 out of 10. I cry myself to sleep, hoping that someday someone loves me, friend or partner or family member. Also, on my birthday I was sitting in my bedroom watching TV alone when everyone else was partying downstairs. The time I was having the worst asthma attack of my life. I was wondering if I should be going to the hospital. I remember sitting there, contemplating who I should take me to the hospital and feeling so alone. I was in a hostel full of people who used to be my friends, but because of their extreme betrayal or busyness, I didn't feel comfortable asking anyone to take me. I was worried I would collapse along the way. The older I grow up, the less of a relationship I have with my family. Haven't spoken to my mom since I was 18 and don't really talk to my dad unless it's important. It was my 23rd birthday at uni and my best friend forgot and didn't text me all day. So I got all dressed up, wore nice makeup and went to pick up paycheck. My boss, who was like a close friend, was in a bad mood and said nothing to me as she handed me my check. So I then walked to a bar and had fried cheese curds and a blue moon in an empty bar by myself watching those K-pop stan compilation videos. I'd never created a habit of talking to myself, but I was having one of those days. Those with depression. You get me, where I was just pulling coping mechanisms out of my ass, and on this particular day, the whole day I was home alone. I was just creating conversation with myself about everything. Like I was legitimately talking to my best bud, who was imaginary. One of the biggest ones I remember was arguing with myself about the perfect time for bread to be in the toaster. Bastard insisted it needed to be burnt. I thought otherwise. I actually got into a heated argument about fucking toast with myself. I went to my parents' summer house by myself for a few days after a breakup. I couldn't really bear to be around other people and bring them down with my misery. So I just went into voluntary isolation. Obviously, I lied to my parents, who were worried about me, and told them I was going with my best friend. It was nice. I spent my days playing chess, spearfishing and fixing stuff around the house. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and hit the notification button. See you next time.